सतर्क रहिए।
Namaskar, welcome back to Media Scan. Even as the electoral process for the largest election on the planet took off this Friday, there was big news throughout the week from Chhattisgarh, from the forests of Binagunda in Kanker district, where no less than 29 armed Naxal militants were killed, neutralized with a valor, the immediate action of our security forces. This was following a definite intel about a gathering of these Naxal operatives in those forests, which is like a tri-junction area between Chhattisgarh and Maharashtra. Viewers, ultra-left ideology, ultra-left effort took off in 1967 from Naxalbari in West Bengal, and very soon, in less than 2 years, it metamorphosed into a violent movement which spread very quickly to various parts of the country. Since then, left-wing extremism or Naxal extremism, as we refer to it commonly, has been threatening the peace, the tranquility and the security of Bharat. This incident, which happened earlier this week at Binagunda in district Kanker, will go a long way in not only becoming one of the most successful operations against Naxal violence, but it is also important because it now shows that Naxalites are on the run, our security forces are in hot pursuit, and the area infested by Naxal violence is now much, much less than what it used to be. On Media Scan this weekend, the questions we are trying to ponder: is left-wing extremism close to its end game now? And are Naxalites breathing their last breath? To discuss this very complex and sensitive issue, I have two stalwarts with me on Media Scan this evening. May I introduce former ADG P.K. Mishra, a stalwart who understands internal security, strategy and related issues, currently with the Vivekanand International Foundation. Namaskar, Mr. Mishra. Thank you for joining. Also with us, someone who is the best person to explain to us why this Kanker operation is so important in the larger scheme of things. SSP Kanker, Kalyan Elsala. Namaskar, Mr. Elsala. Thank you for joining us at such a crucial moment. Namaskar.
Thank you very much.
So, can we get on with the discussion? And I will definitely come to Mr. Elsala first. Mr. Elsala, we are aware that you were leading the operations along with your other colleagues, which was a joint operation of the BSF and the DRG, the District Reserve Guards. But I know it's a vast subject and you have dozens of inputs to share with us. But very briefly, for the benefit of our viewers, can you explain to us, Mr. Elsala, why this operation was so important, not only because it was big?
Yeah, this particular operation was launched on a definite intelligence input about a huge Naxal gathering that is trying to disrupt the Lok Sabha elections on 19th and 26th in Bastar. And to preempt them, the operation was launched into a very unfamiliar hostile terrain. And based on the Naxals who are killed, and they are identified as those from Gadchiroli, Maharashtra, and some of them are from South Bastar, indicates that they were indeed planning a major offensive on the security forces, which is very commonly seen during January to May, in which they call it a tactical counter-offensive campaign. So this is a huge victory for us, not just in terms of numbers, but also in terms of the cadres from different places. So that will send a very strong message to the Maoists.
Fine, fine. Very well put, sir. I'll come back to you on why, it will become one of the most memorable operations when we look at the larger scheme of things. But may I have ADG Mishra here for a moment? Mr. Mishra, you've just heard SSP Kalyan explain to us, operationally why this whole encounter was so important. But in the larger perspective of things at the national level, sir, do you think this Kanker encounter gives us some message about in our fight against left-wing extremism?
Yes, I can well tell you that I go back on 25th of May. That is what happened in when P.C. Shukla and Mahendra Karma and 14 Congress members, they were killed at Doordarshan. And that was in 25th May 1991. And in fact, I visited it on 26th, just one day after to Doordarshan. And after that, it happened at Jairam Ghati. And look, the way they ambushed the party and they could retrieve to Malkangiri through Tulsi Dogri. Those areas, I can well tell you, particularly Narayanpur and Kanker and Bastar, you can tell you Dandakar and Abu Smart, they are very, very difficult areas. Those who are operating, they know how difficult it is to operate in those areas. We have so many operations, anti-Naxal operations, both in Jharkhand, in Odisha, and in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, and Chhattisgarh. Why I give this one as the best? Because it's not only killing of Naxalites. We recovered a lot of weapons. We recovered a lot of ammunition, arms. And what happened? The leaders. We had Lolita there. We had Shankar Rao there. And what happened? These militants were, or these Naxalites, so-called, someone was telling them as Sahids. I used to laugh at them, those who told them as Sahids, and I really pity them. And they were from 3 different states. It is all like, it was a combined effort of so many militant, so many Naxalite guerrilla groups who tried to disrupt our election process, which is going on today, just before the election. And it was sure that they were going to hit it, like it happened when it happened at Doordarshan. It was 25th of May. What Kalyan was telling, that was from January to May and January to June, before monsoon. They have their best time to operate in these areas. And such type of operation, getting benefit of the intelligence which they gathered, entering with all automatic weapons which they have, and surrounding the Naxals and having one-to-one fight with them and aiming them and killing them. And I can tell you their strength was more than 100. They were about 100 strength.
Yes.
But I give my salute to this.
Yes.
Really, it was a very good operation. It never happened before.
Yes,
it never happened before.
Indeed, even all reports from the ground are saying that there were more than 100 definitely armed Naxal operatives out there. But as you flagged, sir, it is not only important from the overall security scenario of that region, but also because they were perhaps ready to disrupt the electoral process.
No doubt.
I'll come back to SSP Elsala here. Mr. Elsala, just wanted to understand from you, while the Kanker encounter that we are talking about here is definitely a kind of a milestone in our fight against left-wing extremism, but it is also true that this is not an isolated incident, because there has been a relentless pursuit of Naxal terror in the past at least 3.5 months. And just 2 days back, when I was in Dantewada in Bastar, I was told that just within this year, that is from January to mid-April 2024, more than 70 operatives have been killed. So can you tell us about this ongoing operations that have been happening in the past few months, and why they are more important than our previous fights?
Yes, in the last 4 months, there is a shift of focus and also change of strategy. The Naxal organization is divided into special zones and divisions and areas. So now the areas is like broadly a subdivision type, if you understand. So now the focus is at that level, and there is a constant monitoring and constant sharing of all inputs and all strategies to be made. And the result-oriented approach is now very much stressed and monitored at the highest levels. And the fixation of responsibility is also quite clear. And because of this changed approach, every unit is now is given a target as to why the forces should continue there. Why can't we ensure peace? Why can't we ensure the smooth, completion of development works? So now every unit and every person on the ground is working towards it.
So we'll come back to the supporting development work and infrastructure enhancement, which definitely is an important, pillar of this entire fight. But before that, I would like to get in ADG Mishra here. Sir, you just heard SSP Elsala tell us that there has been, the approach is suddenly changed and the results are showing. I may add that there is also a surrender policy going on in the state, and so far a staggering 700 plus Naxals have surrendered, and a big number of them, perhaps around 80% of them, are serving in the police forces and becoming a strong arm of the police in their fight against Naxal terror. So how would you attribute this change of approach, sir? Why do you think there is suddenly this new approach towards fighting this menace?
Yes, it's a long process which was taken up by both union government and also the state governments. I was just listening to Kalyan and he was telling within this last 3 months, we had about 80 deaths of militant Naxalites and about 125 of them injured and 125 of them they surrendered. And more or less 700 of them they have surrendered. This surrender policy is also good. Anyone surrendering with government has declared anyone surrendering with arms and all, he will be given 5 lakhs of rupees, and most of them they will be taken in either IRB battalion or in police battalion. And more, I can well tell you earlier in what was happening in Narayanpur and Kanked and Bastar area, any informer, local informer, a local man or the field person giving any input to police personnel, the security person, he used to be targeted by militants. But here, what is happening? Because of the development, because of the situation, particularly the relation between the locals, the people and the security forces, they are coming forward to give intelligence about the militants to security forces. This is the result what has happened. And see, we are having hardly another 15 districts which are now there where the Naxalites will be finished. And this particular operation, what has happened, in which 29 militants were killed. This shows the militants are in the run. This will be the end of Naxalites in India. I can well imagine when the Charu Majumdar was there, I was SP Nadia. And that was the time when from Bengal in 1973, 74, 75, we could finish this Naxalite problem in West Bengal that time. But things got developed in Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh and Odisha and Bengal and Bihar. So they again came up. But that time,
yes,
they had an aim.
I'll come to that, sir. But I have a small question which was flagged by yourself. I have a small question for SSP Elsala. I would like to put it to him because I know he has to go. Mr. Elsala, I want to ask you a quick query as mentioned by ADG Mishra here. You know, while officers like you and the Jawans along with you are fighting this Naxal terror day and night, risking your life every moment, how do you feel when you hear, comments in the media like it happened in Chhattisgarh, the former CM, or here in Delhi, when politicians say these encounters are suspect, they are fake, there needs to be an inquiry, and somebody even went so far as to mention those killed Naxalites as Shaheed. What crosses your mind when you see such remarks?
Definitely not the right time to venture into that, but it is very depressing to say the least. And especially we are used to listening this kind of things from people who are part of the urban network. They try to blemish the forces for no reason. But when it comes from very responsible people, it's very heart-wrenching for all the men in uniform. It's reprehensible actually.
Profound words from someone who has been fighting the challenge day and night. And I am sure SSP Elsala speaks for many others like him. ADG Mishra, will you like to add to that, please? The sentiments of Mr. Elsala here?
Yes, I can well tell you that the way forces, particularly the DRG and the BSF, they really walked inside such a dense forest, not fearing for their lives, not fearing what will happen to their families. It was only there for the nation they worked. But I can well tell you, I know what has happened in Chhattisgarh, political level reactions from Chhattisgarh and central reaction here. Also, some political parties, they were telling that there should be an inquiry. Yes, I am telling you, make an inquiry what has happened on 25th of May 2013 when B.C. Shukla and Mahinder Karma and Congress workers were killed by the Naxalites. And here, yes, you inquire where from these weapons from Naxalites they were recovered. Yes, you inquire how these two inspectors and one constable, they were injured. Were they injured by their own troops? Did we purchase those weapons from China and sold it to you? And they have gone to the extent of these terrorists and the Naxalites to be called as Shaheeds. They should feel shame to call them as Shaheeds. I am really fed up to know this political reply which they are giving it. They do not know what to speak and how our
point taken,
really
sir.
work.
Point taken. I know SSP Elsala has to go. So if we are able to, if we can connect to him, I will just put him a last question quickly.
Yeah.
Mr. Elsala, just wanted to understand from you, sir, while it is true that this operational success is a great milestone, and some people have already labeled it as perhaps one of the biggest, encounters or operations of this level so far. While that may or may not be true, my question to you is, every time there is such a success operationally, there is an effort from the Naxalites to regroup and to, try to pull the people emotionally, psychologically towards their ideology. So, what would you suggest is the best way to ensure that once their commanders, their big, operatives get killed, they do not make a campaign to regroup and pose a challenge? I mean, is development the answer? What are the issues you have in mind to, sort of consolidate the gains and advantages of such an operation?
The pressure will be sustained in those areas that we will try to push them hard. But yes, development is the answer, because ultimately you have to realize that those who are working in the Maoist organization are there by compulsion. Most of them, if not all, are recruited at a very tender age of 10 to 11 years. They did not have a choice, neither did they have a choice to exit. And they are sustained in that organization by fear. So now if they are given a choice to come out, most of them will like to come out. So our focus would be on the surrenders and extending the development to all these interior areas. And we are sure that very soon many people will come to the mainstream, because they are done and dusted with this ideology which only thrives on extortion and fear. And definitely it's no longer an ideology, it's just a madness with violence.
Fine. Those are very interesting and very profound words from you, officer. I know you have to go, but I'll just take a quick last question from ADG Mishra. Sir, just wanted to understand from you, after what Mr. Elsala has explained to us, while it is true that enhancement of development and infrastructure is a must and there cannot be two thoughts on that, it is also true that these Naxals who are operating in the forests and the inaccessible areas, they get a lot of intellectual cover fire from people who are spread out in various campuses, think tanks, organizations, even the media of the country, perhaps even political groups and pressure groups. Now, it is easier to, kill them or catch them alive or coax them to surrender in the forest. But how do you deal with that other class, which is actually becoming their eyes and ears and giving them so much, strength?
You see, why they get their strength? Number one, where from they get the weapons? Number two, where from they get the money and the resources and the war logistics and also the wireless sets, and particularly the weapons, where from it is being supplied. All these things have to be looked into. You are absolutely correct. the funds are coming to them from various places, from state capitals and also from Delhi, and also from various leaders. And the weapons are more or less being supplied by PLA, and it is coming through Northeast. And we have to keep a watch where from these weapons are, how the weapons are being supplied. Weapons which are snatched from police, that is a different issue. But the weapons which are coming, the Chinese weapons which are coming, they are coming from PLA. More or less it is being supplied through Northeast, maybe from Manipur border, maybe from Mizoram border, maybe from, Indo-Myanmar border. We have to keep a track where from the weapons are coming. Number two, the funds are, there are people who are funding them. Particularly how they are being funded, and particularly the areas where they are being trained also. That has also to be looked after, keeping a watch by drones and also the satellites. How come they are being trained with improvised explosive devices? How the IDs are being made? Where from they are purchasing those explosives? From which market they are getting the explosives? Everything has to be checked minutely. And that thing has to be done by all the security personnel, by these intelligence agencies, and we have to keep a watch. It is a fact they are getting the funds, it is a fact they are getting the weapons, and it is a fact they are also getting their numbers from various interior areas, the people, to stop it. We have to see that the interior areas, particularly in Abu Smart and Saranda and Dandakaran, these areas are developed. I have seen Chhattisgarh and Odisha, Malkanagiri, things are much better now, but the educational policy, the health structure, communication, everything must improve, and they must see that we have to see that the tribals, they get their dues, and we must take them as a part of us.
And I think that is why, sir, that is why I think the government is laying a great stress on the development and empowerment of tribals.
Yes.
Is SSP Elsala still with us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
We are all very curious to know. You have told us how there has been a hot pursuit against Naxals for last several months. Would you venture an idea like how many armed Naxals are, active in the area? Any number you want to peg?
In Kanker, around 200 plus armed cadres are estimated in these core areas. And overall, Bastar, it is expected that there are more than 2,500, 3,000 armed cadres.
Right. I think that's a good note to end our discussion here. Before that, I would like to thank you profusely, SSP Elsala, for joining us at such short notice in the middle of the situation that you are in. And we wish you more power and all the best in this fight against Naxal terror. The country is looking at you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And ADG Mishra, thank you so much, sir, for all that perspective you have given us in this fight against left-wing extremism. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you then. Namaskar, madam.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Viewers, as our experts have pointed out, hot pursuit is on against Naxal terror in the country with full support from the center and the state forces. A joint operation is the best way to deal with them. But as our panelists have pointed out, we also need to be vigilant and careful about those who provide intellectual cover fire to these armed militants, because that is where they get their strength from. However, it's a matter of great satisfaction that the voters in Bastar have come out in big numbers to give a befitting answer to these armed militants, and the same is expected to happen in Kanker too. On that positive note, it's a wrap up on Media Scan for this weekend. Do join us next weekend. Till then, namaskar.